So the other day I was thinking, there's so many things have gone wrong, especially during COVID this last year. And you just go through the news. It's just one thing after another. And then so many of our friends have got COVID. Some of the devotees have left their bodies. And so I was thinking, if something doesn't go wrong, then there's something wrong. So when I was thinking about something doesn't go wrong, there's something wrong, it was really stimulated by me receiving so many letters of problems devotees are going through, situations that they can't control, just how they're being treated or cheated or manipulated by relatives or in the workplace or by abusive spouses. I mean, these things are real and they go on. And I was thinking that the nature of this world is such that because we're here, we're vulnerable to situations like this. Of course, we don't want them. It's very difficult to deal with them, but it's not surprising that they happen. And so I tend to think when I see the miseries, it's not funny that people are suffering, but sometimes I joke lightly and saying, because we are here in this world, we're susceptible to these realities. These things happen. Like I say, if something doesn't go wrong, there must be something wrong. And so I lightly joke with devotees. I say, really, I do sympathize with your situation, but if you don't like it here, you should really think about going back to Godhead because you won't have these problems. Or another way I say it is, let the suffering be an impetus to your spiritual life to get out of this world, because no matter what you do, there's going to be some potential problem, which sooner or later is going to come that you'll have to suffer. It's just the way life is. And in the spiritual world, that doesn't happen. So whenever devotees suffer, I always think the best thing to learn from this suffering is that as long as I have a material body, as long as I want to enjoy this world, then I put myself in this vulnerable position where there's potential for suffering all around me. It's going to come today. It's going to come tomorrow. And just this morning, I was thinking just of my body. What happened to my body? I can't remember all the cuts and scratches that I had as a young boy growing up, but young boys, they have a lot of cuts and scratches. It's kind of normal. But the major things I remember was spraining my ankle, cracking my rib, spraining my ankle again when I was older, fracturing my hip, and the last thing a few years ago was tearing my meniscus, which is part of the knee, and spraining both sides of the knee. So and that's kind of like, I'm sure you all have your little broken parts here or there. That's just normal. And, here I am with this broken body. It's still working. It's not so bad, but it's just the way it is. So this really should be our mantra. If you don't like the way things are here, you should go back to Godhead. And there's so many things not to like, politically, practically, the way the world is, the way it's going. Some things are good, some things are not good. Let us use this as an impetus. And a lot of us know that if things go too well, we become complacent. And so when we see the difficulties, we think, yes, I am so foolish, I am so thick, that unless Krishna shows me that I can enjoy, unless Krishna makes it difficult, or Krishna at least shows me how bad the world is, and unless I run into some fence, some walls, and just crash trying to be happy and it doesn't work, unless that happens, I just don't understand that I'm not the enjoyer. I just don't understand this is not my place. I don't have the urgency to go back to Godhead. Many of us understand that, and many of us appreciate that when difficulties come, we actually need it so that we can think clearly about what Prabhupada's teaching us. Because just because he teaches us something doesn't mean we get it. But we get it more easily when it actually happens to us. The last thing I want to say is when Prabhupada was leaving his body, we were all young. And he said, well, don't think this isn't going to happen to you. Your body's going to break down and you're going to have to leave your body. But it doesn't mean much when you hear about it. Of course, it means more when you see it. But when you're 25 and you see it, you're thinking, well, I'm not going to really deal with this for 50 plus years. But when you actually have experience of something, then things start to click. Oh, now I understand what Prabhupada said. So that way we can appreciate that something is bound to go wrong. But, you know, so many times when it goes wrong, it's like devotees write me like they're surprised. And like, you know, my wife left me. Oh, what else is new? You're the like 100th person that just wrote me a letter today that said their wife left them. This is just the way the world is. It's not something unusual or unique. It's just pretty much normal life that things go on like this. So we need to see it that way. And we need to understand that, well, here we are. We voted to come here, and this is what we have to deal with. So I don't want to sound unsympathetic, like I don't care if you have problems. And I always try to help devotees solve their problems, work through it. But I also wanted to make this point that this is kind of normal. We voted, we chose to come here, and this is what we have to put up. And if we're Krishna conscious, then we're going to be able to deal with it. That's the great gift that Prabhupada gave us. Even in this world, even though things are not always going well, still, if you're Krishna conscious, you'll be able to deal with it really well. Hare Krishna.